Hi everyone, it's 1 o'clock here on IC Radio and I'm Tom.
And I'm Caitlin. Welcome back to Science at 1, where we bring you the best science news, gossip and analysis.
And the best music. On our playlist today, we'll be listening to some pop, jazz, electro and blues.
And on the science menu, we will focus on acupuncture, the solar system, and we'll be hearing about whales in Alaska.
You know, we see that presence of culture in the behaviors that the whales are doing as whales have recovered on this coast. So we'll see behaviors that start up here and then they spread to other populations of whales in other areas.
And on Spot the Bot this week, we'll see if ChatGPT can crack a joke better than a human.
That's all coming up in the next hour here on Science at 1.
Fantastic. So our first item today is the news section. So Caitlin, what did you find intriguing this week?
Well, it's been quite a big week, I'd say, for science. Maybe that's always the case, but I'm going to ask a question, Tom. What do you get if you cross AI with a fossil?
Oh my gosh, I have no idea.
Well, you might get a really clever rock, or you might just get a robot version of a long extinct species, which is exactly what researchers at Carnegie Mellon have managed to create. They've been trying to understand early locomotion and provide clues about what happens down at the greatest depths of the ocean. And so they have made a robot version of Pleurostidid, a small marine creature that went extinct 450 million years ago. And although long gone, Pleurostidid came from the same group of organisms that now contain sea urchins, and just like the urchin, it probably used a strong stem or tail-like appendage to move. Using this fossil evidence and 3D printing, a soft-bodied version of this robot has been made, and the creature was engineered, which showed that it could move on the seabed with wide, large arc strokes of the tail. And the team now hope to look at it down at the sea floor and see if they can resurrect other types of ancient animals in order to study their characteristics too.
My God, that is fascinating. It's almost like a 3D printing version of Jurassic Park.
It is, and I think we've all got that to look forward to. Dinosaurs, 3D printed robot versions running around and spouting nonsense like ChatGPT. The dream. Brilliant. How about you, Tom?
Well, so get excited, everyone, because we're going to have an amazing view of Uranus next week. Wow. Yes, stargazers rejoice. We're going to have a spectacular view this coming Monday, as it will look much brighter and bigger than usual. So why is Uranus so massive right now? The answer is a phenomenon known as opposition, and it's due to the fact that the Earth orbits the Sun much quicker than planets further out to space. And this means almost every year there's a point where the Earth is directly between the Sun and a neighbouring planet. And that kind of means that the Sun and the distant planet are directly opposite each other in the sky. And the way the Sun's rays hit it makes it look especially bright and sparkly. So eagle-eyed stargazers may have already noticed that Jupiter is particularly bright in the sky right now, as that hit opposition last Friday. And on that day, Jupiter was around 367 million miles from Earth, and normally at its furthest, it's 601 million miles away. So then, Monday next week, it's Uranus's turn. It'll be around 1.6 billion miles away from the Earth, which is pretty far. But because it's quite big, it's around 4 times the width of our planet, we'll be able to catch a slight glimpse of it. So how do you see it? There's two kind of... The best way to look at it is to look at things that you can see. And one of the most unmissable bright point of light is Jupiter. And then there's also the cluster of stars known as the Seven Sisters. And Uranus will be that faint blue-green point of light, which is almost exactly halfway between the two. And so, if it's very clear and very dark, you'll be able to see it by eye. But if you want a bright city, a telescope or a good pair of binoculars wouldn't be amiss.
Wow, so you're saying Uranus is sparkly and fantastic this week?
Particularly on Monday.
Okay. That's fantastic to hear. I look forward to seeing that.
What else have you got for us?
Well, I seem to be on a bit of a sea theme this week. What if I told you that starfish don't have any legs?
That doesn't make sense.
I know. Not only that, they don't even have a body. And this is exactly what researchers have found, is that starfish are essentially just a contorted head.
Right.
Yeah. Surprised? So, well, the researchers from the University of Southampton certainly were as well, because they made this startling discovery by looking at the genes which were switched on in the outer layers of a starfish, and they compared those genes to a two-bodied animal that was kind of in a similar group to them. And it's long been a real mystery about how a five-fold body plan could have developed from a two-fold body creature. But by comparing those genes, they've discovered that starfish don't actually have any trunk genes at all. And Thurston Lacalle from the University of British Columbia described them as a disembodied head walking about the seafloor on its lips. Yum.
Wow. That is fascinating. And that was the news this week. It's time for our first track of the hour, and that is Runaway by Newport and Meggyport.
Clouds are stirring up the sky. I was always in denial of what I saw right in front of me. And every time I'm so damn lost to what I loved and what I lost. But let's get lost in love tonight. Hear a second voice inside my head. It's telling me to say tonight again. And hold on to the words we always said would be forever, forever. Wait another day to clear my thoughts. So jump into a love that won't be forgotten. Forever, forever. Let's run away together. Let's run away together. Let's run away together. I wanna run away with you. Let's run away together. Let's run away. Let's run away together. Let's run away. Swear we'd never say goodbye. Fall asleep to lullabies with something that I thought I'd never find. And what is right and what is wrong, and all I ever saw was love. But let's get lost in love tonight. Hear a second voice inside my head. It's telling me to say tonight again. And hold on to the words we always said would be forever, forever. Wait another day to clear my thoughts. So jump into a love that won't be forgotten. Forever, forever. Let's run away together. Let's run away together. Let's run away together. Let's run away together. Wait another day to clear my thoughts. So jump into a love that won't be forgotten. Forever, forever. Let's run away together.
That was Runaway by Newport and Meggyport.
We now welcome our first contributor, Yaz. And Yaz is actually our resident sports person, a rower, in fact. And she's been having some personal difficulties with stress, but not the kind of stress that you might get at uni, the stress as in stress fractures. So, do you want to tell us how you've been treating it, the prevention, what kind of thing you can do about it?
I love that intro. Resident athlete. I think that I might get that printed on my t-shirt or something.
I think I've only seen you in rowing attire, so...
Yes, I do walk around in my PE kit. I don't have any other clothing. It's quite sad. So I have a rib stress fracture, so I've not been able to row for the past 3 weeks, but it feels like 10 years because it's quite, going from so much training to just none is quite a lot. But what is a rib stress fracture? So they're very common within rowers because of the extreme and intense loading on the body, because rowing is so unnatural. Like, it's man-made, I suppose. Like, that repetitive strain on the body, it takes its toll. And my physio was saying how all sport is bad for you, which is quite weird to say, but it is, because our bodies aren't supposed to be playing these games that we've just made, like football and stuff. So a rib stress fracture is quite rare, but it's seen in people who do upper body repetitive extreme activities like rowing, track and field, dance, running even. So they're most common in the legs and feet in runners, due to the repetitive constant impact from the strides. What it is, it's an area in the bone where it's become weakened and microscopic cracks have gradually formed because of the bone. The bone is basically under repetitive load and stress. So it's different from a regular traumatic bone fracture or break, where you see a snap and a crack all at once. So the cracks and stress fractures are often so small that they can't be seen on x-rays, but areas where the bone has built up some new bone called a callus, as it tries to heal, can sometimes be visible.
I heard that when a bone heals, it actually becomes stronger. Does that kind of not work so well for stress fractures?
I've actually never heard that before, but with a stress fracture, if it heals, then it will just go back to how it was before. But if you don't let it heal, then it can actually form a real fracture, and you'll be out of rowing any sport for 6 to 12 months.
Just how painful is this? Like, did you know that this happened straight away?
So it first happened in April when I was on training camp, and it was really painful. Like, I couldn't do anything, but I kind of rode through the pain because I was in Spain and I was like, I want to row. So I just rode through the pain. And then it kind of it went away after like 2 weeks. And then it happened again in September when I was in Poland at a competition. And then again last month. But then this time it happened and I couldn't breathe. And I was like, oh wait, this might not be a muscle thing. This might be something more serious. So yeah. And then I went to the physio and then they were like, you idiot. Yeah, this is actually quite serious. So me not giving the time, letting it heal by giving it the time was quite stupid. But here we are.
And is that the kind of treatment you just have to accept that you can't row or you can't do this physical exercise for a while and just let it heal itself? What else can be done?
Nothing. It's something that can't be really fixed with surgery or anything like that. It's something that you just got to give it time to heal, because if you don't, then you're constantly going to be applying stress on that, and then there'll just be loads of tears, and it might be worse. So yeah. You can use like MRI to see if there's a tear, but it doesn't really show up on scans. So it's something that you have to go to your physio doctor about, and there are certain like exercises that you can do for them to diagnose you. I've tried acupuncture, which was a bit rogue. It didn't really work. It made it so much worse. Basically, it works as it tries to alleviate the pain caused by injuries like sprains and stresses by targeting specific points on the body. It simulates the release of endorphins and serotonin to provide like immediate pain relief. But in my case, I woke up the next day and I was like, ow, this is so much worse.
Really?
Yeah.
So that's interesting that it made it worse, because I guess there's a big question over whether acupuncture can do anything. Is that different in physio and in sports science?
Acupuncture works. It will work for you or it won't. I think it depends on the person. My physio was saying how it might take a few days for it will get worse before it gets better with acupuncture. But it got worse and then stayed the same. So we decided not to do acupuncture again and just focus on working on the areas around the fracture by applying pressure, but not on the fracture because, well, I was like to my physio, just apply pressure on it, like it will feel better. And he was like, do you want me to crack your rib? No. So yeah.
That must be one of the hard things about a sports injury, is that you often have to push through the pain, right? You often have to push past your limits. That's the whole idea of being a sports person. So to be able to tell which pain is from an injury and which one is your body, pumping.
That's definitely why I'm quite badly injured, because with rowing, it's a painful sport, and us rowers are kind of crazy and we like the pain. But then how do you differentiate that between good pain and bad pain? I guess you sort of just have to go through it to know. It's like you have to learn from your mistakes. So my coach was kind of smiling at me when I talked to the news. He was like, this is good, Yaz. And I was like, no, you psychopath. Why? And he was like, because I was telling you throughout summer, don't overtrain, don't do too much. And you still did it anyway. But I feel like you're going to learn from this and take your rest days and do better. And I was like, yes.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing. It's so important to be able to give yourself enough time to rest and recuperate. So how long until you'll be back rowing, do you think?
So I want to row now, but apparently it's supposed to be like 4 to 6 weeks. I'm hoping like in a week, but this may be really stupid.
Yeah, I'd recommend doing a little bit.
Yeah, it's just
a little
really
bit
hard.
longer.
It's hard, but
it's fascinating stuff, especially talking about the acupuncture. So we're going to move on from relaxing the body now to relaxing the mind with our next track, and that is Midnight Stroll from Relaxing Study Music. Thank you, Yaz.
Thank you so much, Yaz.
Think about it right now. Everything's okay. No matter where you find yourself, no matter what kind of stuff is going on in your life, underneath it all, everything's actually all right. You're okay. You have more power than you might be giving yourself credit for. If you have something that's going on in your life right now that's challenging, painful, it's just a reminder to take a little bit better care of yourself. Because you're worth it. You can have this feeling anytime you choose.
Well, that was Midnight Stroll, and that brings us on to our next story. Actually, I don't think it has much to do with midnight or strolling. But if I ask you to imagine the sound of whales, you're probably thinking of the mournful song that people listen to as they're going to sleep. There we go, midnight. That's the link.
We got there.
But I was lucky enough to be in Alaska over the summer, and the whales there made quite a different sound, and that is what we're going to have a look at in the next little clip. That's terrible. What did you think that was? The sounds of hot air balloons? Maybe the fire they use in making glass? I think it sounds like a gathering of steam trains meeting to discuss business. But actually, I made this recording sat on a boat in Alaska. We turned off the engine and everyone agreed to stay as quiet as possible, because at that moment, 3 pods of humpback whales had surrounded the boat and were coming up repeatedly in this orchestra of air music, which I find just as moving as the whale song we're more used to hearing from below the depths. By the way, in the background, that chuntering that could be an engine, it's actually sea lions about a kilometre away, and their voices, they travel.
That was awesome.
That person is Misty, a salmon scientist who works for Raincoast, an amazing charity trying to protect the coastal regions of British Columbia. And as much as Misty knows about salmon, she also knows a hell of a lot about the things that eat them, which includes humpback whales.
So the good thing, like right now we're sort of seeing whales come to the surface and go back down. They're not as active and cooperative as whales could be sometime, but in a way it's a good thing, because it kind of indicates that there's lots of food around if the whales don't have to work together to feed, because they feed cooperatively when it's more advantageous to do so, when they need more prey than they're getting on their own, and then they would work together. So we're seeing very casual whales traveling, likely feeding, but not, they're hanging out together, but they're not working collaboratively to feed. So it may be a sign that there's lots of food around.
And so even when they don't necessarily need each other for food, is it the social element of their lives that kind of brings them together?
It could be, because sometimes we see whales that are just solitary, and other times they'll be in pairs, and other times they'll be in large groups. So it's sort of hard to say a lot about their culture, even though we see that presence of culture in the behaviors that the whales are doing as whales have recovered on this coast. So we'll see behaviors that start up here and then they spread to other populations of whales in other areas. So we know that culture is here, but the role of, whether at the extent that they want to be social, it's a bit of a question still.
Okay, yeah. Because it seems like they synchronize their breathing.
Yeah. They're diving at the same time. They're coming up, and there could be juveniles with their moms. Sometimes that happens. But yeah, definitely, you're seeing big adult whales that are choosing to synchronize. Sometimes in the resting lines, even with the humpback whales, you'll see that they're pretty close together, and And in these resting lines, they're often close enough.
Yeah, sorry, you were saying the kind
all
of
good.
cohesion.
We were pleasantly interrupted. But with killer whales, when they form their resting lines, it's often these are pods that are matrilineal, and they're often led by, so they're led by females. But when they form the resting lines, they want to be touching the whale next to them. So whether it's their pectoral fins or they'll lay their dorsal fins over, so that they'll run their dorsal fin down the sides of the other whales, but they want to be touching each other. So there's such that social cohesion is so strong in killer whales.
Wow, that was quite the experience there. Caitlin on location in Alaska. Just how did that come about?
Well, I was on a trip with my godmother and my dad this summer. I was so lucky. It was a phenomenal place to be. And orcas and humpback whales actually were not doing well in the last century because of the whaling industry, but humpbacks especially have made a huge recovery, so it was very exciting to see them.
Yeah, and I think like Misty hinted at that when she said that they were there in a very casual nature, just surfacing as and when, not necessarily hunting in a pack or together. What was that like, seeing that?
It was astonishing how close they came to you. They really didn't seem too fussed by human presence, especially in the boat. And she did say that about quite a few of the creatures there. The fact that they were so relaxed around us did mean that the fear that had been what had allowed them to survive was kind of starting to ease away because of these huge restrictions on the hunting and misuse of creatures in that area of the world. So it's good to see that for sure. Yeah,
that is a positive story. And one of the things that Misty kept kind of talking about was this idea of resting lines. I don't know what that is, so yeah, go ahead.
No, well, I only learnt it from Misty, and so it's actually, the resting is the crucial part. It's when they are asleep. And they don't fully go to sleep, but they turn one half of their brain off and they rest at the top of or at the surface of the ocean in really close formation. And they'll kind of gradually breathe up and down, but they'll stay quite stationary. And sometimes they'll do some shorter dives and come back up, but they are in a very kind of resting state. And she mentioned this idea of them all wanting to touch each other, and there's actually a wonderful word for that, which she also taught us, which is thigmotactic, and it just means that you want to hug from another member of your species.
That is just so lovely,
isn't it? Just, and the sea lions are thigmotactic as well, so you see them all lying on top of each other, and it's because they just, all they want in life is to be held.
Just a little bit of touch.
Exactly.
It's like the sea otters, you know how I see those photos circulate all the time where the sea otters are asleep holding hands, just drifting. That's so lovely, and what an experience.
It was very special, yes.
So now we're going to play our next song, and that is Coat for the Rain by Pandaline.
she was lucky, or maybe it was fate, but she met a singer who could relate. I followed her down her forested path. We got to her porch and she said with a laugh, you know, I've been thinking of staying inside, not my whole life, so I know how to hide. She poured me a cup and she sang me her song, and when she was done I just looked at her long. Tears in my eyes and a tear in my heart. With one little tug she could pull me apart. Well, I croaked, what does it lack? And when she said me, my will, she did crack. Maybe we'll be gone tomorrow, and maybe we won't feel the same. But for now in the sun I feel happy with her. She's given me a coat for the rain. There's taken and given and a lot in between. Her at long last I felt finally seen. I've been just walking and looking around, but I hope to realize when I'm the one found. Spent the day living and planning the next. When the night fell we could lay down to rest, trading our clothes in the warm summer shine, cooking up breakfast in the morning sublime, sharing our words and our hearts in our hands, mending our souls as well as the land, working up sweat in the garden outside, and belting out songs that were cooped in our minds. Maybe we'll be gone tomorrow, and maybe we won't feel the same. But for now in the sun I feel happy with her. She's given me a coat for the rain. Maybe we'll be gone tomorrow, and maybe we won't feel the same. But for now in the sun I feel happy again. She's given me a coat for the rain.
Okay, that was Coat for the Rain by Pandalion, and we have a lovely guest in today. It is Celine, and next on our agenda, we're going to take a dive into students' weird and wonderful questions on science as we start our Science Shockers segment. So let's welcome Celine to the studio.
First timer on Science at 1. How are you feeling?
A bit stressed, but I'm happy because I have some quite weird questions coming up, and I want to see what you guys think.
Yeah, and just on that, if you, the audience, have any questions that you'd like to share, it's time to contribute. So if you're listening on YouTube, just drop a comment in the comments section, or email us at science1, that's 1 the word, then 9 the number, at gmail.com. If it's not confusing enough.
I was going to say, who came up with this email address?
So, Celine, take away.
Yeah, so my first question that a lot of people in the UK have asked themselves is, could poo power help heat the country? What do you
Well,
guys
we
think?
have been hearing about how explosive Uranus is this week, so...
Yeah, that's a fantastic segue. So, how poo power...
Yeah, poo power can help heat the country. Do you think that's a possibility?
Okay, so this is talking about biomass, like
Yeah.
fermentation and the kind of the gas that's then generated using it to heat. Well, I've seen those big, they're often on the side of motorways, you see those massive kind of vats, and you think, wow, there could be quite a lot of stuff in there and that would burn quite well. Whether it could heat the entire country, though, I'm not sure.
I think that sounds quite exciting, quite innovative. I mean, we're already using waste products, for kind of fertilizer and things like that. So if we can get energy out of it, even better.
Yeah, well, actually, yes. The water firm Thames Water has successfully been using human toilet waste to make electricity for the past decade. And from either burning sludges or methane derivatives, it's 13 million customers' toilet. And so this year they have invested £250 million in 6 new thermal hydrolysis process plants as part of it. Poo Power program to turn sewage into energy. So it's already been going on, but I didn't know about it. Like,
yeah, I don't think I knew that it was at that scale. I mean, if it's being used for energy and not going into the rivers, then I'm very, very pro.
Well, I don't know how the process of it, but it's 13 million customers' toilet. That's a lot.
Wow. I wonder if anyone knows.
I was going to say, is there an opt-in form?
I don't know, but yeah. So
I suppose you push the lever and you forget about it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's not a thought that lingers for most people, but I guess next time you could wonder whether...
We even think about it. Next time I go to the bathroom,
you can be like, well, I've contributed to the heating the homes.
Of London, yeah, exactly. Our next question is, why do beans and sprouts make you pass gas? We're very very...
I sense a theme here.
Yeah, slowly emerging.
Well, I thought beans and sprouts, did you say?
Yeah.
I thought it was something about fermentable little carbohydrates in the gut, fermentable oligosaccharides or something that we can't break down, and so all of these bacteria do, and when they break them down they create all of this gas, and it's not very nice.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Wow, you are informed. Yeah, it's so beans and sprouts are hard to digest because we can't digest the enzymes we produce can't digest the molecules in beans and sprout, and which makes you gas. So thank you, Caitlin,
for my gassy knowledge.
Exactly.
I would argue that you can probably tailor your microbiome to be okay with that.
Maybe if you eat a lot of beans and sprouts, but to be fair, it's not the best food ever.
Beans? Oh.
I am not British, that's why.
What? You French love their bean stews.
No, beans are not a big thing. Well, not as in England.
Yeah.
To be fair.
Yeah.
You guys eat it at breakfast. What's
Well,
wrong with you?
I don't, but yes, I see what you mean. I think it is one of those things that you can get more used to, but it's just whether you want to go through the pain and the ordeal.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's no gain
exactly.
without pain.
Yeah. The next question is quite funny. So it was. So this question was taken out from a Harvard prize. So the Harvard University has a kind of a Nobel Prize thing, but it's not Nobel Prize. It's the prizes given to work that first make people laugh and then make them think. So the question they asked themselves is, how do we know what noises dinosaurs make?
I've heard about these awards. How do we know what noises dinosaurs used to make? I mean, we've always taught they go raw.
Yeah, right? But how do we know that?
Do we look at fossilized vocal cords? Oh no, I'm sorry, I ruined it.
It's similar, but it's interesting. So they researched some fossilized dinosaurs, and especially the Lembosaurus crest. And according to the University of California, Berkeley, the most accepted theory today of the function of the crest is that it serves as a resonating chamber, allowing Lembosaurus to make deep, loud sounds. And an interesting, well, it's not an interesting fact, but on Jurassic Park, do you know how the dinosaur sounds were made?
No. How were they made?
Did
Caitlin, if this is right.
Did the director make the noises?
No, there were actually animal sex noises.
What?
From what
That is
animals?
wild.
Apparently from turtles.
Actually, have you seen the videos of turtles doing things? It is so disturbing. Like their noises are so weird.
They don't sound anything like dinosaurs.
Yeah,
though. That
well,
must be so.
apparently, that's
Distorted.
what happened. Yeah.
Oh my god, that's so fun. It kind of reminds me a little bit about how they were taking mummies from Egypt and they were using 3D printing to recreate their like esophagus to work out how they might have spoke or how they might have sounded. And it's a bit like looking at fossils and seeing how, if you're able to get a well preserved fossil and looking at potentially how to recreate that sound. They did the similar thing with working out the colors of dinosaurs when they looked at like fossilized feathers, and they were able to look at like microscopic little indentations.
What was the color and stuff?
Also, I suppose they can compare them to modern day birds. They can compare the makeup of the esophagus or the voice box and see how it differs, because then might give some clues that way. Have you guys seen? There's this wild bird called a hornbill, and it looks so much like a dinosaur.
Really?
The
looks
hornbill.
exactly like
Isn't it
I
the
don't know
one
what it
that
looks like.
it's in The Lion King? It's Wazoo. What's his name?
Is it the bird
Yazoo.
that's like very fun? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Then I know what
He's
it
a
is.
hornbill.
So one last thing that comes from the Harvard prize of the funniest thing, that researchers, they tried to determine scientifically that people who think they are drunk also think they are more attractive. Do you think that's the case?
Well, there's always that what is it, beer goggles, so you're supposed to see other people as more attractive. But yeah, I think you're right, there's like a certain level of cockiness.
Yeah, I think that's 100% true.
Yeah. So researchers went to a bar and asked people how attractive they were. And you guessed it, the more they drink, the more drinks they had, the hotter they imagined themselves. And in a lab, they also gave subjects either fake or real alcoholic beverages and asked everyone to give a presentation. The tipsy people thought their presentation they gave were more attractive, bright, original and funny, even though a panel of 22 independent and sober judges did not agree.
Again, that doesn't surprise me at all. When you say presentation, is it like a presentation of themselves?
I think so, yeah. I don't know the precise presentation that happened, but yeah, I think it was just random presentations of themselves.
Imagining like a drunk catwalk with all of these researchers sitting at the side giving marks out of 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, with white coats and clipboards.
Exactly, yeah. Well, I can definitely testify for that because I don't drink anymore, and I just used to think that I was so interesting when I was drunk, and it's not true. Once you stop drinking and you see drunk people, you're just shocked at how awful they are.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So those were all the questions that came in this week. Thank you so much for that.
No problem.
We'll be back in 2 weeks' time for some more science shockers.
And we'll never be able to watch Jurassic Park again.
Not the same way, at
Not
least.
in the same way, no. Thank you so much, Celine.
Thank you.
Thank you. So now for our next song, and that is We Won't Leave You by Steve Void and Science.
On our own, we jump, we fall, forgotten world. We're running out now, won't hide away anymore like yesterday, 'cause we're running out now. You can see it in our eyes, and we won't look away. This time we're here to stay. So we're running out now. We're fighting, we collide, crashing every day. And if you the door to paralyze stereotype fucked up minds. Every day there's a choice where to go, and you can turn it around. You can see it in our eyes that we won't look away. This time we're here to stay, so we're running out now. We fight and we collide, crashing every day. And if you feel afraid, we won't leave you. We won't leave you. There's a man sitting next to you with a scarf around his head, and when it's down to the last end, he could be the one that saves you. And there's a woman driving in the car, and she talking her phone when you're crossing the street, and she could be the one that kills you. You can see it in our eyes that we won't look away. This time we're here to stay, so we're running out now. We fight and we collide, crashing every day. And if you feel afraid, we won't leave you.
Okay, that was We Won't Leave You by Steve Void and Science. You're listening to IC Radio, and this is Science at 1 with me, Tom.
And me, Caitlin. And Tom, just wondering, have you heard there's a cursed item within the Natural History Museum?
I have not heard this, but I have a feeling our next guest might have, and that is Hannah. Hannah, welcome.
Hello, welcome. I mean, welcome to me.
We
Just
do
introduce
welcome you.
myself, thank you.
So what have you got for us today? You've got some cultural recommendations.
Yes, I took over the cultural section from Chamie, who was here 2 weeks ago. So she talked about the Science Museum, so I thought I would talk about its neighbour, and it's the neighbour to here as well, the Imperial College London, and that is a natural history museum because it's right next door. It's really interesting and it has plenty to offer. We realised as well, many of us, it's one of our first experiences of a museum, and it has wonderful exhibits that connect with a lot of people to their childhood as well. So what I've done, because it can be a bit overwhelming, it is big in there, is I've created a sort of scavenger hunt. I've selected a couple items or exhibits, if you will, that are really interesting, and I want to challenge you to go out there and try and find them, sort of give you some direction in the museum, if you will.
Oh, that sounds
Yeah.
so fun. I
Yeah.
love a scavenger hunt.
You do? Okay, well this is for you then. All right, the first one, do you guys know what Archaeopteryx is?
Ooh,
Yeah?
I do know.
Yeah?
It's that first flying dinosaur that's got
Yes.
black wings.
Exactly. So it's an amazing fossil, and when I saw it about a week ago, I did not know it was in the Natural History Museum, and my little biology geek heart just broke out. I got so excited, and my friend that was with me did not understand. But basically, it's a 150 million year old fossil that is a transitional fossil that is the first bird, effectively. It was discovered 2 years after Darwin passed away, sadly, and as you guys might know, he was being criticised a little bit. You know, his theory of evolution wasn't fully supported. People were saying, okay, well, we see what you're talking about, but where are the species in between, you know, I was saying specifically between chimps and humans, where are the intermediates? And it's really hard to find remains of intermediates. But Archaeopteryx is an intermediate between dinosaurs and birds, and it's incredible. You can see elements of the dinosaurs, you know, of thick tails and claws, but you can also see feathers, a fossilized feather in there. It's incredible. You can see it in person. There is two. There's one fake and there's one real, so try and find the real one. That is my number one. I'm just so my little geek heart, I was so excited to see it.
That sounds absolutely wonderful. I
Yeah.
want to go straight
Please
after
go find
this.
it. Yeah,
I want to
and-
go find the origin of birds.
Honestly, go find it. It's absolutely incredible. And again, I've seen it in every biology textbook ever. So seeing it in person was just really cool. All right. Secondly on my list, try and find Chi Chi the panda. I don't know if you've heard of Chi Chi before.
I have never heard of Chi Chi the panda.
All right, Chi Chi the
haven't
panda.
heard
You
either,
haven't?
no,
Well, she's
no.
a celebrity. You should know about her. So she's a celebrity from the 60s, and she was a really well-loved resident of the London Zoo, and she was actually so famous that she was the model for the WWF logo.
I was honestly, I
Yeah.
was gonna get there. I was thinking, so as soon as you said panda and Chi Chi, and I was like, famous, it's got to be that logo.
It is, yeah. She was the model. She was so loved, and now she's in the museum, so you can go say hi.
She's in the museum.
She's in the museum. She's been stuffed. She's there. Actually, it's quite funny. I looked into this, and a bunch of the well-loved residents from London Zoo are now in the museum. So a lot of them come from there because you've got, a stuffed version of every animal in there, and some of them, from the zoo.
Gosh, that's amazing that there was a specific model for the WWF logo as well.
And now we know her name.
Chi Chi.
Chi Chi the panda, and she's not within the animal section, so you're going to have to sort of search a bit for her. But yeah, it's a real reward when you see her. She does have a lot of personality.
That's very intriguing.
Yeah. Now, number 3. So this was what you hinted at earlier. There is a cursed item within the museum. I don't know if you've heard of this before. Yeah, careful. So it's situated, I'm going to give you a little bit of a hint. It's situated in the vault of the museum, which is where all the gemstones and diamonds are. There's loads, by the way. So if you were planning a heist, I don't know, that's where I would go. There's a lot there. There's a lot there. So yeah.
Chi Chi's not worth that much.
No, you need to go to the gems section, the vault. That's where you need to be.
Easier to carry as well.
Yeah, it'll be easier. Like a bunch of rings, just,
Someone would definitely notice if you were kind of hugging a stuffed panda if you left the museum, wouldn't they?
Just be, I won this at the fun fair, pass it off. Whilst the diamond rings, maybe tuck it in your jumper, I don't know. But if you go there, there's a bunch of shiny things and it's quite nice to look at. But there is it's not explicitly stated, but I read up on this. There's a purple amethyst. Try and find it. It's mounted in a silver ring and it's shaped like a snake. And it was said to have been taken from a temple of a god, the god Indra, that was in India. And it's said that many of its past owners have passed away, or they've had failed careers, or they've experienced disasters, or many died swiftly after sort of getting it in their possession. And actually, the last owner donated it to the museum because her father had kept it in 7 layers of boxes, apparently, because he was so scared about it. And he sealed it away and said, don't look at it. And his daughter eventually said, okay, I'm going to donate this because I don't want it anymore. I don't want this bad luck. And now it's behind some very strong glass, but it shouldn't cause you any harm, but it's nice to look at.
Wow, so even the curators have kind of taken this on board, that it is potentially cursed.
Yeah.
So, do we trust you now? You've come in close contact.
Yeah, I'm gonna make my swift exit afterwards. I don't know if you're feeling bad vibes. I hope I've not brought bad juju into the studio. It's going well so far.
It certainly is.
And then the other thing I'll tell you to go find is the Darwin statue. So a lot of people go to see the Darwin statue. It's quite amazing. I got a selfie with him myself last time I went. As a biology graduate, you have to take the selfie. And there's actually 2 of them, though. So there's one that's quite obvious, and he sort of stands over the whole museum if you go to the main hall, which is the most beautiful part of the Natural History Museum, in my opinion. But there is another one, so see if you can find him. It's a less famous one, and he's actually reading with his slippers on, and it's quite a sweet little statue. Yeah,
that has given us a lot of places to go. I'm really excited for this treasure hunt.
Yeah, try and find those items.
Yeah, it is just get a selfie with Chi Chi, get a selfie with Darwin.
Yeah, send them to us. We'd love to see them.
Steal the amethyst.
Yeah,
but not the cursed one.
Not the cursed one. Try one of the other amber ones. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, thank you so much, Hannah. That's absolutely so exciting.
Yeah, and I'm right in thinking you've got one more thing for us today, if we can squeeze it in, and that's talking about ChatGPT and potentially as a humorous
device
being. Yeah. So basically what I did and what we did last week is we played Spot the Bot, and we got ChatGPT to write poems. But this week we wanted to test his ability or her, his or her, don't know, ability to be funny. So what I did is I asked around our campus for students' best jokes, and I tasked ChatGPT with doing the same and writing jokes. And I'm going to read some to you guys now and see, which one you think might have been generated by the AI and which one you think might have been, from a student. So here we go. And hopefully some of these will be zingers that you can take home with you and say to your family and friends.
Okay, we're ready to laugh.
All right. There's a lot of pressure. All right. Number 1. Why don't scientists trust atoms? Because they make up everything.
What?
All right. ChatGPT or human? ChatGPT or human?
I'm going to say that was ChatGPT.
It was pretty bad. I'm going to say, yeah, ChatGPT.
It was ChatGPT. ChatGPT. All right, number 2. Parallel lines have so much in common, it's a shame they'll never meet. No, quiet, crickets. Crickets.
Oh, as in that was the joke.
That was the joke.
God.
Parallel lines have so much in common,
no,
it's a shame they'll never meet.
You had to get that from like a mathmo engineer on site. I'm saying human.
Yeah.
Oh, God, really?
Yeah, that's the joke.
I hope we never meet.
I hope we'll never meet.
It's ChatGPT.
It is ChatGPT. It's ChatGPT, everyone.
2-1 to Tom.
All right. The next one. Why did the physics teacher break up with the biology professor? It's because there was no chemistry.
Oh.
I actually quite like that one.
You like that one?
Yeah, I like that one. I think that's written by a human.
Okay, I'm going ChatGPT.
That was a chemistry student. That's Jessica. There we go. First human joke. Arguably, better than the other two, right? Am I right?
Oh, definitely.
I don't know. I think
Do you think they're all
more
bad?
on board with the parallel lines ones.
Oh,
now.
yeah? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. What does blood say when it's trying to be optimistic?
Give me that again.
What does blood say when it's trying to be optimistic?
Stop being so negative.
Well, almost be positive. There you go.
Oh.
Similar.
That's ChatGPT.
It's ChatGPT.
Oh, well done, Tom.
All right.
Oh, that's about all we've got time for, Hannah. But I think it has emerged that neither the students on campus nor ChatGPT are very funny.
That's what we've learned here today.
I think you would have done a much better job.
Thank you.
Yeah. So everyone needs to go and learn some comedy is our takeaway from today.
Yeah, for sure. And if you have any funny jokes, do send them in. We always want to hear them, and we'll play them on air. But yeah, thank you so much to Hannah, to Celine, to Yaz, who all came on today, to our wonderful producer Jamie, and to Shaunak for all the music.
It's been Science at 1 here again. We're going to be back in 2 weeks' time. We hand over to the other group next week. Thank you so much for tuning in to another Science at 1. We are Caitlin and Tom.
Yeah.
And we'll be with you next week.
Goodbye.